Hello, my friends, and welcome to this new episode of the English Mindset. My name is Jessica, and I am so happy to spend this time with you today. In this episode, we are going to explore a topic that is absolutely essential for anyone who wants to become fluent in English: how to think smart and speak fluently. Now, maybe you have asked yourself this question many times before. Why is it still so difficult to speak English fluently even when I already know many words and grammar rules? Or perhaps you can understand English when listening, but when it is your turn to speak, the words come slowly, or sometimes they don't come at all. This situation is very common, and it can be frustrating. Many learners believe the solution is just to memorize more vocabulary or to study grammar harder, but that is not the full answer. The truth is, fluency is not only about the number of words you know or the grammar rules you have studied. Fluency is deeply connected to how you think. If your brain is trained to think smart, then English words and sentences will come out of your mouth more naturally, more quickly, and with more confidence. In today's lesson, I will show you what it really means to think smart when learning English, why this way of thinking is so powerful, and how you can train yourself step by step. So if you ever feel stuck, nervous, or slow when speaking English, stay with me until the end of this podcast. I promise that you will walk away with clear strategies to change the way you think and, as a result, change the way you speak. Are you ready? Let's begin. When I say think smart in English learning, many people immediately imagine something complicated, like solving puzzles or memorizing advanced grammar rules. But let me be clear, thinking smart does not mean you have to be a genius. It does not mean you need to study English for 10 hours every day or know every single rule in the grammar book. Thinking smart is actually the opposite. It means using simple, effective methods that save your time, give you faster results, and make your speaking feel more natural. Let me explain with a common example. Many learners try to translate every single word from their native language into English before speaking. Imagine this: you want to say a sentence. First, your brain creates the idea in your own language. Then you translate word by word into English. Then you check the grammar in your mind. Finally, you try to speak. By the time you say something, the conversation has already moved forward. This is not smart because it makes your brain slow and heavy. Thinking smart means breaking this habit. Instead of translating, you should train your brain to connect ideas and pictures directly to English words. For example, if you want to say, "I am hungry," you do not need to think about how to say hungry in your language first. You simply connect the physical feeling in your body, the empty stomach, with the English phrase, "I am hungry." That's it. No translation, no delay, just idea to English words. Another key part of thinking smart is focusing on what really matters. To become fluent, you do not need to know every advanced or difficult word in the dictionary. You also do not need to master every complex grammar structure. Smart learners choose to focus on common, practical words and simple sentences that they can use every day. If your goal is to order food, talk about your hobbies, or share daily activities, you only need a small group of useful expressions. Once these are automatic, you will already sound fluent. So, in short, thinking smart means 3 things. Stop translating word by word. Connect ideas and pictures directly to English phrases. Focus only on useful language that serves your daily life. When you apply this way of thinking, English becomes lighter, easier, and faster in your brain. And when English feels easy in your thoughts, it will naturally flow more fluently from your mouth. Now that we understand what it means to think smart, let's talk about why this way of thinking is so important for fluency. Many learners believe that speaking English is only about moving their mouths, producing sounds, and remembering vocabulary. But in reality, speaking fluently begins much earlier. It begins in the brain. The way you think directly controls the way you speak. If your thinking is slow, then your speaking will also be slow. You may know the correct words, but if your brain is busy translating or checking grammar rules, the words will come out late, broken, or sometimes not at all. On the other hand, if your thinking is smart and simple, then your brain is already prepared. The words are ready to leave your mouth, and your speaking becomes faster, smoother, and much more natural. Here's the problem that many learners face: they first create a sentence in their native language. After that, they try to translate it into English. This process takes time and energy. By the moment you finish translating, the conversation may already be finished, or the other person has moved on to a new topic. Not only does this create stress, but it also makes your English sound unnatural, because direct translations rarely match the way native speakers actually speak. But when you think smart, you train yourself to think directly in English. Instead of building sentences in your own language, you connect your ideas straight to English phrases. That means your brain doesn't need to take a long detour through translation. The result? You respond faster, you feel more confident, and you sound more fluent. Let me give you an example. Imagine you are at a restaurant and the waiter asks, "What would you like to eat?" If you think in your native language, your brain says, "I want chicken and rice," in your language first. Then you translate, "I want chicken and rice, please." This takes extra time. But if you think smart, your brain immediately connects the picture of chicken and rice to the English phrase, "I want chicken and rice, please." There is no translation, no delay, just fast and fluent communication. So here is the simple connection: smart thinking leads to faster speaking, and faster speaking feels like fluency. And remember, fluency does not mean speaking perfect English. Fluency means speaking without long pauses, without hesitation, and with confidence. Thinking smart helps you achieve exactly that. This is why training your brain to think smart is not just useful, it is the foundation of fluency. Without it, your progress will always feel slow and heavy. With it, English becomes natural, and fluency becomes possible. The very first step toward fluency is training your brain to think in English. This might sound challenging at first, because your brain is naturally used to your native language. It is normal that your thoughts automatically return to that language. But with practice, you can slowly change this habit and build a new pathway in your brain where English becomes the default. Think of it as exercising a muscle. The more you train, the stronger and more natural it becomes. So how exactly can you train your brain to think in English? Let me give you several practical techniques. First, stop translating word by word. Whenever you want to say something, resist the urge to build the sentence in your native language first. Instead, begin with short, easy English sentences that you can think of instantly. For example, say to yourself, "I am walking. I am cooking. The sun is hot. I like coffee." These thoughts are simple, but they are powerful. By repeating them in your mind, you are telling your brain, "This is how I think now," in English. Over time, this habit will grow stronger. Second, narrate your daily life in English. This method is incredibly effective because you can practice anywhere, anytime, without a classroom or a teacher. As you go through your day, describe your actions in English. When you wake up, think, "I am getting up." When you brush your teeth, say, "I am brushing my teeth." When you leave the house, think, "I am walking to the bus." These simple narrations turn ordinary moments into powerful practice sessions. Your daily life becomes your teacher. Third, use pictures and ideas instead of translations. For example, when you see an apple, do not think of the word in your native language first. Instead, connect the picture of the fruit directly to the English word apple. Do this with everything around you: chair, phone, table, book, water, pen. The more you connect pictures to English words, the faster your brain will form direct links to English without going through your native language. Finally, practice every single day, even for just 5 minutes. Many learners believe they must study for hours to see progress, but the truth is, short, consistent practice is far more effective. 5 minutes of focused English thinking every day is more powerful than studying for 2 hours once a week. Your brain loves consistency. Like a muscle, it gets stronger with regular use. To summarize, training your brain means, start with small English thoughts, narrate your day, connect ideas and images directly to words, and practice daily. Do this, and you will discover that English begins to feel natural in your mind. Once you can think in English, speaking fluently will no longer feel impossible. It will feel like the next logical step. Vocabulary is the foundation of every language. Without words, you cannot build sentences, and without sentences, you cannot communicate. However, many learners make a mistake when they approach vocabulary. They think fluency comes from memorizing thousands of advanced words or long dictionary lists. They spend hours trying to remember difficult words such as ameliorate or meticulous, but when they face a real-life conversation, those words never appear. That is not smart learning. Smart vocabulary means choosing the right words, not the most complicated ones. To speak fluently, you don't need thousands of rare terms. What you really need are the words and phrases that match your daily life. The goal is not to impress someone with big words, the goal is to express yourself clearly and quickly. One powerful way to build smart vocabulary is to focus on phrases, not just single words. For example, instead of only learning the word residence, you can learn the phrase, "I live in an apartment." Instead of memorizing the verb consume, learn the everyday phrase, "I eat breakfast." Phrases are ready-made tools. They save your brain time because you don't have to think about how to combine words. You can use the phrase instantly in real conversations. Another useful technique is to group words by topic. Organize your vocabulary around the areas of life that matter most to you: food, travel, work, hobbies, shopping, and so on. For instance, in the food group you might learn, "I'm hungry." "I'm thirsty." "Let's eat lunch." "Can I have some water?" These are far more practical than advanced food vocabulary you may never use. In addition, always try to learn from real-life situations. If you go shopping often, practice phrases like, "How much is this?" or "Can I try this on?" If you use English at work, focus on the expressions specific to your job. This approach is smart because it prepares you for conversations you will actually have. And finally, remember the golden rule: use and repeat. Don't just read a new word once and then forget it. Speak it out loud. Write a simple sentence with it. Practice it in different contexts. The more you repeat and use the word, the more natural it becomes in your speech. So here is the key lesson: fluency does not depend on the number of words you know, but on the usefulness of the words you choose. By focusing on simple, common, and practical phrases, you will save time, reduce stress, and be able to speak faster and with more confidence. Now that you have started thinking in English and building smart vocabulary, the next step is putting everything into action: speaking. But here's the truth: speaking fluently does not simply come from repeating words randomly or reading sentences aloud without purpose. Fluency comes from smart speaking practice, practice that is realistic, focused, and effective. First, focus on speaking in small chunks. Many learners feel nervous because they think they must speak long, perfect sentences. That pressure often blocks fluency. Instead, start with short, natural expressions. For example, "That's nice." "I agree." "Let's go." "I don't know." These small chunks are extremely common in real conversations and allow you to respond quickly without stress. Over time, you can combine these chunks into longer sentences. Second, practice speaking out loud every day, even when you are alone. Talk to yourself in English about what you are doing or thinking. For instance, while cooking you might say, "I'm cutting the vegetables." "The water is boiling." "I need a spoon." This habit removes fear because there is no audience, only you and your practice. Remember, fluency is built in private before it shines in public. Third, record yourself. Many learners avoid this step because they feel uncomfortable hearing their own voice, but it is one of the smartest ways to improve. When you record yourself speaking, you can listen again, notice mistakes, and correct them. You will also hear your progress over time, which is a huge motivation booster. Fourth, simulate real conversations. You can use apps, language partners, or even simple question and answer practice with yourself. For example, ask, "What did you do today?" Then answer, "I went to work." "I had lunch with a friend." "I watched a movie." By creating question-answer patterns, you train your brain to respond automatically, just like in real life. Finally, don't wait for perfect English before speaking. Many learners delay practice because they feel they need more grammar or vocabulary first. But this is the wrong mindset. The best way to improve speaking is by speaking, even with mistakes. Mistakes are not failure, they are feedback. Every time you speak, you learn. To summarize, smart speaking means practicing small chunks, talking to yourself daily, recording your voice, simulating conversations, and speaking without fear of mistakes. If you do these steps consistently, you will not only improve your fluency but also gain confidence. Speaking will stop being scary and start feeling natural, just like having a chat with a friend. When most people think about improving their speaking skills, they only focus on producing words. But here is a secret: good speaking actually begins with good listening. The way you listen shapes the way you speak. Think of children. they spend years listening before they say their first words. In the same way, if you want to speak English fluently and naturally, you must train yourself to listen smartly. So what does smart listening mean? It doesn't mean listening to everything randomly, or passively playing English audio in the background without paying attention. Smart listening means choosing the right material, focusing on it carefully, and using it actively to build your speaking. First, listen to content you actually enjoy. If you love movies, choose English films or TV shows. If you like news, listen to short news clips. If you enjoy learning, try podcasts about topics that interest you. When you enjoy the content, your brain is more engaged and remembers better. Second, focus on everyday English, not overly formal or academic material. For example, listening to casual conversations, interviews, or YouTube videos is often more useful than reading complicated lectures. Why? Because in daily life, you need to understand and respond quickly in natural conversations, not deliver a university speech. Third, practice active listening. Instead of only hearing the sounds, try to repeat what you hear. Pause the audio and mimic the speaker's tone, rhythm, and pronunciation. For example, if the speaker says, "What are you doing?" you pause and repeat with the same intonation, "What are you doing?" This method is called shadowing, and it is one of the most powerful techniques to improve speaking fluency. Fourth, train your ears to recognize common patterns. Notice how native speakers connect words, gonna instead of going to, or wanna instead of want to. These shortcuts are everywhere in real conversations. By listening carefully, you can learn to understand them, and soon, you will start using them naturally yourself. Finally, combine listening with speaking. After listening to a clip, don't just move on. Stop and try to summarize what you heard in your own words. Even if you only manage a few sentences, this practice forces your brain to process the input and turn it into output. That is how listening directly improves speaking. In short, smart listening means choosing enjoyable and practical content, listening actively with shadowing, noticing natural patterns, and summarizing in your own words. When you listen smartly, you are not just training your ears, you are also preparing your mouth to speak more fluently and confidently. As we come to the end of today's lesson, I want you to remember one simple truth: learning English fluently is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent, smart, and brave. You don't need to know every grammar rule or memorize every difficult word to express yourself. What truly matters is using the language every single day, even in small steps. Think about the journey we covered today. You learned how to train your brain to think in English, how to build smart vocabulary, how to practice speaking effectively, and how to listen in a way that actually improves your fluency. Each step is simple, but when combined, they create a powerful system. This system doesn't demand hours of study or complicated methods. It only asks for your commitment and your willingness to keep going, even when you make mistakes. And yes, you will make mistakes. But remember, every mistake is a sign of progress. It means you are trying, you are practicing, and you are moving forward. Fluency is not built in a day, but it is built day by day. So my encouragement to you is this: don't wait for the perfect time to use English. The perfect time is now. Speak to yourself, think in English, listen actively, and celebrate every small victory. Over weeks and months, you will look back and realize how far you've come. Stay patient, stay consistent, and most importantly, believe in yourself. You already have everything you need to become fluent, you just need to take one smart step at a time.